We are live from the Gold and Blue Dude studio here in upstate South Carolina. I have a couple guests coming on this evening. You know, you can't really explain it unless you're a West Virginia fan. It's very exciting, number one, because I live in the upstate South Carolina. Number one, to find other West Virginia fans. And it never fails. If I'm wearing my West Virginia gear, they will come up to me and say, "What part of West Virginia you're from?" That's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. But what's even more exciting is whenever I find fellow West Virginia YouTubers. Those are even rare, but they're starting to become less rare. I'm starting to see more and more of them. So I'm super excited to find these guys, and I'm more than happy to have them on the show. I love it. Growing the West Virginia brand, bringing more eyeballs to the Flying WV. So the first guest we're going to bring on is the creator and the content creator of Dannyology. I hopefully I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right? Dannyology?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, Dannyology. I've checked out his content, pretty good stuff. So when we're done with this live show, y'all definitely need to go check him out and hit the subscribe button. Look, views are great. It helps, but what really helps grow a YouTube channel is hitting the subscribe button. And it's not difficult, and it doesn't cost you any money. So go over there and hit the subscribe button to Dannyology. I'm sure he would greatly, greatly appreciate it. So how's your week been going so far?
Yeah, my week's been going pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show. I've seen you on YouTube like even years ago, so it's awesome. I think it's awesome that you started really being like the first mountaineer YouTuber out there, because especially like in the modern era of like college sports, like social media is like a big part of that. And any way we can get the West Virginia Mountaineer brand out there is a good thing.
Absolutely. And it's a funny thing that you said that, because whenever I started my YouTube channel, and it's hard to believe, it's going to be 3 years this August. 3 years. Time has just gone by, man. But like you mentioned, bringing more eyeballs to the West Virginia brand and the Flying WV. Well, I noticed on YouTube, I was watching, I'm a college football fanatic, and I saw, Uncle Lou, big time Georgia football channel, which I've gotten to hang out with him like 3 or 4 times now. Pretty cool dude in real life. And Coach Coop, finally met him for the first time this past Slob Olympics, and I'm supposed to be doing some collaboration. But I saw all these YouTubers with decent subscriber base, Miami, Georgia, Oklahoma, nothing West Virginia. I mean, I could find some channels here and there, but pretty much none of them were over 1,000. I was like, my gosh, this does not cut the mustard. The West Virginia fan base is bigger and more passionate than people realize. And it was my brother that finally convinced me to start my YouTube channel. He's like, look, man, we all love you, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, but you're obsessed with college football, man. You need an outlet. I'm like, I know, man, but I don't, what am I supposed to do? Because all my conversations went back to college football. He's like, YouTube. And he showed me Uncle Lou. He's like, all you got to do is be yourself. And that's how it started. But if you go back and watch my first videos, I was not being myself. It was actually pretty horrible. But that's how you get better. You learn from your mistakes. It is what it is. I encourage people that have just subscribed to my channel to go back and look at my first videos. They're really, really bad.
Yeah.
All right. So now
it
go
takes
ahead.
time to get used to being yourself in front of like the camera and stuff. But,
Exactly. You're exactly right. All right. So now our second guest, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. He's Jordan from the Country Roads podcast on YouTube. I'm going to bring him on as well. Hey, Jordan.
Hey,
how
what's
you doing,
going on, man?
We're just talking some West Virginia as usual, man.
Oh, right on. I'm always up for that.
Yeah, and I told people before I brought y'all on, Dannyology, and am I saying the actual name correctly? Country Roads Podcast, is that the actual name?
Country Roads Webcast, actually.
Webcast, very important.
Or CRW, if that's easier.
So I was trying to explain. I mean, people hit the subscribe button, kind of out of I like this channel or out of repetition or whatever. But for real, hitting that subscribe button is what helps the most. Views are awesome,
Oh,
the likes
absolutely.
are awesome, but go to these guys' channel and support them and hit the subscribe button. It doesn't just help the channel, it helps morale. I promise. Us YouTubers, it is what it is. We probably shouldn't do it because sometimes we have a bad day and things don't go the way we want them to go. But we do look at that sub count every day. It is what it is. It becomes a habit. So, when these guys go to their sub count and they see a nice little jump, it's going to help with their morale. And when your morale goes up, your content goes up. So I'm trying to explain the psychology of YouTube. So everybody goes to your channel and hit the subscribe button. Very, very important. All right. Now to the business at hand. West Virginia football for 2022. I think the mood of the West Virginia fan base has gone through the roof because I don't know. I heard something about this dude named JT Daniels or something. Was thinking about West Virginia and visited, and I don't know. He chose West Virginia. Am I close, guys?
Yeah, some guy from Georgia.
Yeah, this former
Yeah.
5-star out of high school from Georgia. He's at West Virginia. That's all I know, guys. So
That's
did
it.
y'all
I
think
mean,
that we had a real
first
chance at
5-star
him?
quarterback in school history.
Yes, that is an important fact right there, and that's
Yeah.
why I asked you the question. Did you really think we had a chance at JT Daniels? Because that was basically history for West Virginia, getting the first 5-star quarterback rated out of high school into Morgantown. Like, okay, if you had to put it on a percentage, we'll go on this question. We'll go Daniology and then Jordan. What was your percentage as far as confidence that he would pick West Virginia?
I was pretty confident. Once he narrowed it down to Oregon State, us, and Missouri, I was pretty confident. I'd put it up there 75, 80% because I don't know about like the majority of all of college football fans, but I think WVU fans know that we're better football programs than Oregon State and Missouri. So I was pretty confident, especially because we hired Graham Harrell earlier, and that was his former quarterbacks coach at USC. So I was pretty confident. I'd say 75, 80% sure he was going to come here.
I gotcha. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I'd say I would have gave us like 50% and probably 20 each for Mizzou and Oregon State. But the one thing that kept throwing me off is it seemed like both Missouri's fan base and Oregon State's fan base seemed so confident that they were getting him. I had people commenting on my videos, oh no, sorry, he's going to Oregon, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, maybe. But the thing other than the Graham Harrell connection was when West Virginia got the final visit out of the 3. When West Virginia gets the final visit, more times than not, they lock up their guy.
Yeah, that's always a good sign. So the way I take it, I think you, Jordan, you were more cautiously optimistic, and Danny was pretty much confident that he was coming. I think that's how that went. I started making videos back when JT Daniels was just starting to talk about, hitting the transfer portal. And I immediately threw West Virginia's name in there because, number one, I think, I thought he could start day one at West Virginia. And then, of course, the Graham Harrell connection. After we hired Graham Harrell, I was like, man, we have a really good shot. That was like the clincher. I started talking about JT Daniels to West Virginia before we hired Graham Harrell. But once we made that hire, I'm like, this is it. We're going to grab this dude. I mean, if you watch some of the live shows, I was talking to one of my other guests, I forget his name. And, oh, no, it was the Mark Rogers over on the West Virginia channel. And we were giving out our percentage. I said, I'm going 80. I think we have this guy. And then, I heard, Missouri said he had a verbal commit from him. I'm like, yeah, I've heard that too, but that doesn't mean anything. And Oregon State's close to his home. The thing is, a quarterback in his last year of eligibility, well, he's got 2 years, but I don't think he'll stay past one. Looking to go to the NFL, he's looking for a system, number one, where he's going to start immediately, and number two, he already knows the offense. It made too much sense to me. A quarterback with that, and he's very mature, guys. He's very mature. How much better do you think our offense will be?
A lot better. And I can tell his
Definitely.
maturity because even I watched a lot of Georgia games this year because they were really good. And even though he wasn't starting over Stetson Bennett whenever he got healthy or like around the end of the season, like he was always still like talking to Stetson Bennett on the sidelines. He wasn't pouting about it or anything like that. So that's good maturity to see. And I think he's going to be a good mentor for Nico Marchiol and these young quarterbacks, even if he's only here for 1 year. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy. Like I think he's going to be a great mentor for the young guys.
What about you, Jordan? How much better
Yeah.
do you think our offense will be?
Oh, I think it's going to be a big time improvement. I mean, I'm thinking, this offense could score over 30 points a game. I'm thinking shades of the 2018 with Will Greer, because I think, JT Daniels is that type of talent. And, the one thing that team kind of lacked was defense. So if this team's defense can remain solid, that's the thing. Neil Brown and these guys have come in, they've built a good defense. We've had a good defense. Even 2019, we were 5-7. The team had a good defense. And then I think now they've realized, well, if we can do the same and build this offense to go with that defense, we're going to win some football games. And so I think they went out, purposely got Graham Harrell and then get JT Daniels, and they're making a concerted effort to build that offense as well. And if they do, West Virginia is a Big 12 contender.
I agree with that 100%. Real quick, thank you, Andre King, for the $5 super chat. Always appreciate your support. I agree with both of you guys. The major complaint from last year was the offense. I mean, last year, our defense, for us to have a chance to win a football game, our defense had to hold the opponents under 25 points. If they could hold the opponents to under 25 points, we had a chance to win. And for the most part, they could do that. But it's a long season, and you're not going to hold everybody to under 25 points. This year, I think if we can hold, consistently everybody in the 30s, low 30s, we have a chance to win the game. I think West Virginia could put up consistently 35 points every game. And that might be lowballing it. We might be talking about averaging 40 points a game. That's how much of an improvement. I'm going to say between 35 and 40. So all the defense has to do is do what they've been doing. They don't have to be elite like they were in 2020 because, people are talking about the transfer portal. And, we lost Nick Troy Fortune and Hakeem Mesidor, Daryl Portal Jr. I'm like, if you really think about it, guys, I mean, Daryl, he was a big time gambling cornerback. Sometimes he was great, and then sometimes he would gamble and he got burnt, and boom, there's a 50-yard touchdown. Nick Troy Fortune got injured halfway through the season. Charles Woods takes over, locks down that cornerback. That's the real reason why Nick Troy Fortune left, is because Charles Woods locked down that starting position, and Nick Troy wanted to start. Now, Hakeem, kind of a different story. He kind of wanted to move over to defensive end, and with Dante Steele's coming back, he knew that was not going to happen. So he decided that he needed to move on, or he needed to move on. And I wish him, nothing but the best. And I think our defensive line is going to be one of the best in the Big 12. But as far as defense goes, what group would y'all say has the biggest questions that might be possibly the weakness of the West Virginia defense?
I would say the safeties, because we're losing
right now.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
we're losing Sean Mahone and Alonzo Adai, and those guys were huge for us last year, I thought. So that's going to be a big one. I mean, Charles Woods to me is probably the only one who I'm fairly confident in the secondary right now.
I got you. What
Yeah.
about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I think secondary as well. Like I said, Charles Woods, I'm extremely confident. I think he's going to be one of the better corners in the Big 12. I think, it's going to be similar to, if you look back, Rasul Douglas, his first year kind of came on towards the end of the season. Then that next year, he, then playing interceptions, and he came, junior college, and Charles Woods transferred from FCS, which, even higher level than junior college. He was All-American there. And we really saw, him come out and shine last year. So I think he's going to have a big year this year. So I'm not too worried about the one cornerback position. Then on the other side, it's kind of going to be a competition. You got Andrew Lamp there. And I think Jacoby Spells and Mumu Ben Mahad are both going to factor in there. and both those true freshmen are going to play. So you're going to be young, but I like the potential that you have at corner. And then at safety, you know, they moved Marcus Floyd there, the other FCS transfer that was an All-American, came from Murray State. And I think he's going to do good at the cat safety spot. Free safety on Hershey McLaurin Bass. So you're unproven in a lot of the secondary positions, but I think the guys they got there are talented. It's just going to depend on what they look like once they hit the field.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that us getting Marcus Floyd was going to add depth to the linebacker. They didn't realize he was a banded hybrid, so he will be put back in the safety position, probably help with some blitz packages. And he's an All-American, so I'm not worried about him at all. If I had to break it down, number one, Charles Woods is going to have that one side locked down. I mean, I said it before. That's the whole reason why Nick Troy left. He knew he was done there. UTSA. Come on, guys. And then on the other side, Mumu Ben Wanhad and Jacoby Spells will battle it out. I think, on top of that, I think we could see Mumu and Jacoby return some kicks and some punts. Those two guys are really, really quick, and they have great, cutting ability and footwork. So I'm keeping an eye on our kick return and punt return game as well. I think, I'm transitioning out of the defensive talk into the special teams because that also was an issue. When we were matched up against Minnesota in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, when I made my game prediction on that, I'm like, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer for my fellow West Virginia fans, but we're not going to win the game, and it's not going to be close. And the biggest reason was I thought they had a better defense than we did, and so we weren't going to be able to rely on keeping them from scoring 20 points because it didn't matter. They wanted to keep us from scoring 10. And then the biggest factor was field position. Minnesota was really, really good at flipping the field, and West Virginia was really, really bad at flipping the field. So I think this year our special teams will take a step forward. We didn't have a lot of fast people on the team last year. That's what a lot of West Virginia fans don't realize about last year's team, and myself included. I had expectations that I shouldn't have had. I was saying 8-4, and when you look at the team, it wasn't going to happen. This year is a different story because we have a lot of speed and we have a lot of length. He's recruiting the way that Rich Rod recruited. So I'm especially excited about that. If y'all had to take a guess at maybe who's going to, field punts and kickoffs, who would you think would take over with that?
I think that's coming in from JUCO in the summer, Jeremiah. I think he's going to factor in, when it's all said and done. Like you said, I think Spells has a chance to factor in there too. And then Davis Mallinger that's playing the spear. If they give him a chance, he could do it. He was a track star in high school, maybe the fastest player on the team. But I undertake for that's Jeremiah Aaron that's coming in over the summer.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, he checked them for me. Those guys right there. I mean, losing Winston Wright is tough though, but
yeah, but I think Winston lost his confidence because early in his career he was a great punt returner, and then he had a couple of muff punts, and it was like he lost all of his confidence, and it was gone. I also think another name, if they want to roll the dice, would be Lynn J. Dixon. The dude is super quick. That's why, in my opinion, our running back situation is going to be a step forward. I mean, bless his heart, Letty Brown did as much as he could for West Virginia, and I am super thankful, and we will miss him, but he registered as the slowest running back in the combine, and Lynn J. Dixon has like a 0.3 faster 40-yard dash, and if people don't realize, that's a lot faster.
Yeah.
So our running backs are going to be much quicker. Do you think we'll be able to rely on our running game a little bit more?
I think we should rely on it a little bit more because we're returning all 5 offensive linemen. We can have at least like a 3-headed monster. Like I think we should use 3 running backs like across the season and split time with them because Tony Mathis, Dixon, and Johnson, all those guys, like they're really good, and we should definitely run the ball like a good amount, especially with our defense and JT Daniels. He's going to be able to air it out and play action, and I think we should depend on our run game a lot this year. I'm pretty
Gotcha. So I want to ask Danny his split on percentage run versus pass, and then I'm going to ask you, Jordan. How much do you think we should run, and how much, like, if you had to put a percentage like 60-40 or 50-50, how much do you think we should run versus pass?
Maybe 50-50, because I definitely want to see JT Daniels air it out some, but we should be running the ball with
I
that.
agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'd say 50-50.
Okay. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah. I would hope 50-50, but I think that it's going to be something more like 60% pass, 40% run, since we got Graham Harrell
Yeah.
and especially with JT Daniels. I think before, if it would have been Garrett Green, say, running the offense, we would have probably ran even more closer to 50-50, because I think we would have mixed in the read option game with the air raid offense, something like that. But now with JT Daniels, you're going to see more air raid. So I think we're going to probably pass 60% of the time. But I do agree with Danny about the running backs. I think that all three of them will play, and I think maybe four of them will play, because I think Jalen Hand gets them too. Like what they got there, because they got
Yes.
two speed guys in Lynn J. Dixon and Justin Johnson, and then two power guys with Tony Mathis and Jalen Anderson. So you got like multiple options of different backs. You can that thing they've been doing
Yeah.
a lot through spring practice in Graham Harrell's offense is they've been playing two running backs at the same time. So you get one running and the other leading blocking for him, or one can go out in the pass pattern and the other one's still there to pass block.
Yeah, so you could call it, like, instead of thunder and lightning, you could have thunder, thunder, lightning, lightning, because you got two powers and two quickies. So I
Yeah.
really like the options. I mean, we are
Yep.
super deep at the running back position this year, and that's not something that West Virginia has been able to say. So that's why my confidence is high that, number one, we'll have a better season. Number two, we could be Big 12 contenders with a legitimate shot at 10 wins. Now, that all depends on the beginning of the season. We would most definitely be tested. So I want to talk about that real quick. First game out of the gate, of course, the Backyard Brawl. I'm going to be there, and I'm actually going with one of my pit subscribers. We have a little bet going on, so that should be fun. But my confidence before we got JT Daniels, actually had pretty good confidence. I thought West Virginia was going to be a better team this year, much faster team. But now with JT Daniels, like, that was the biggest question for West Virginia. Our defense is solid. We had all five of our offensive linemen coming back. Now we're not having to divide a lot of snap counts between wide receivers, so they'll be able to get into a groove. A lot of our fan base complained about Winston Wright leaving because he was our, quote, leading receiver. I get that, but he was only the leading receiver by like 10, 15 yards, and there was a bunch of guys grouped, close to him like that. So actually, I thought maybe it was a good thing that he left. Not that we won't miss him, but I think the guys that stayed are going to have more chances to make plays and to get into that groove. How are y'all feeling about the before we talk about the schedule? How are y'all feeling about the wide receiver situation now?
Well, I thought Bryce Ford Wheaton was our best receiver last year.
I
Better
agree.
than Winston Wright, and I think he's due for a breakout year. Maybe close to 1,000-yard season, but yeah, I like him. Sam James, he's gotten better. The 1 year he was dropping all those passes. It was bad, but he has improved. Hopefully, he improves more. And yeah, like you said, it might be a good thing Winston Wright left, so then these guys can get in more of a groove.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not as mad about the Winston Wright leaving situation as some have been. And yeah, he was the leading receiver in terms of yardage, but I think Sam James led in Ford Wheaton was right there with him in catches and only a few yards behind. So I really like the top three receivers West Virginia has a lot. You got Ford Wheaton and Caden Prather on the inside, and then Sam James playing the slot. And then I think Reese Smith's going to factor as a fourth receiver, and I like his potential as well. He has great hands. And I think Sam James, his senior year, I know his sophomore year, he had that sophomore slump a little bit, but I think this year's going to look more like his true freshman year did when he really looked good. And, I think it's going to look closer to that here in Graham Harrell's offense. I think it's going to be used well. So I think I'm a big year for him. I'm a James fan. I've been since his freshman year. I bought a Sam James jersey before that year started. So, I mean, I
Nice.
always got to back him no matter what. But I think he's going to have a good year. And I like our 3 receivers, but I wouldn't be mad to see us add one more through the transfer portal because I think
Yep.
we do need a little
Yeah.
bit more depth, especially on the outside.
Yeah. How about this quick hot take for you? So, I think our breakout wide receiver, and people think I'm nuts on this one, not just because of what I'm about to say, but what comes after that. I think Caden Prather will be our breakout receiver this year, and I think he's going to have such a good year that he could be in some whispers of some Heisman talk going into 2023. That's how good I think Caden Prather is. He really impressed me last year. He made the most out of the snaps that he got, and Jarrett Daggy,
Yeah.
average, I guess, game manager. This year, JT Daniels, he'll see what Jarrett Daggy didn't see, and that's Caden Prather, being able to high point those 50-50 footballs when he throws it in the air. And JT Daniels is good at placing those 50-50 throws. So I really like Caden Prather, and he's really going to open some eyes, and he might be, kind of in the whispers of a possible Heisman Trophy contender at the start of 2023. That's my hot take for that.
I agree with you because I was at the Texas game this year.
I like
I
it.
was watching it with my dad, and we seen him start making plays, and we were looking at each other like, where'd this guy come from? Because this guy looked like, he has maybe the most potential in our whole wide receiver room. Like, this guy was making plays. I think he's going to be huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he really played well in that Texas game when he got the opportunity.
Yes, I like.
Yeah, and
I agree
I think
with that
he's like
100%.
he's one of the top 15 best recruits I think West Virginia's ever had. If you look at the all-time recruit rankings, or it might be 16th, but he's right up there, and he's either the second or third highest rated receiver recruit they've ever landed. So I think he's got a lot of potential because of his size. He's 6'4", over 200 pounds, and the guy can run too. He's fast with that speed. So I think if he sticks around, and has a big year this year, yeah, next year could really, I could see that prediction coming true. I like that Golden Blue dude.
Thank you. So when we look back at last year, now to me it's glaring. Like I don't even have to think about it. When we look back at last year, what was the one game that derailed our season and that changed our morale, changed our trajectory, changed everything? There was one game that I have in mind. I want to see if you guys think the same thing, that in my opinion blew up our season. Like that was the game that ruined what I thought we were going to do. If y'all had to place a finger on a game, what game would that be?
I remember watching the
Oklahoma.
Baylor game and just thinking we stink last year because we got destroyed by Baylor. But I didn't have too much optimism after that one, honestly. That was
All right.
probably.
What about you, Jordan? I heard you say Oklahoma.
I think it was it was Oklahoma, man. They had that game, they were in it the whole
We were
way, and then they
close.
were on the 30 or 20-yard line, and then that snap that happened, and ended up losing it there at the end. And I think if they win that game, it's a whole different season because they turned around next week, played Texas Tech, and it's like Oklahoma beat them again, basically, because they were never really in that Texas Tech game in the first half. Second half, it's like they finally woke up, tried to make a run, but it was too little, too late. And then I think that changes the whole season because if you beat Oklahoma, you're sitting up there in the conference standings, you're feeling good, you have all kinds of confidence, and West Virginia wins 8 or 9 games at least if that happens. And so I think it changed the whole season entirely.
Yeah, I like that answer better, Jordan. That one was more of a heartbreaker. Like, how'd we let that one go? The Baylor one was just, we weren't in it from the start, really.
Yeah, we got torched at Baylor. I 100% agree with Jordan, and he hit all the points too. We were one bad snap away from kicking a game-winning field goal.
Yep.
And I'm not going to throw shade on Zach Frazier. It's one play, things happen. Maybe we could have done some other things to not put him in that position, But man, we beat Oklahoma, and at minimum, West Virginia goes 8-4 because number one, that gives us one win right off the bat.
Yeah.
Number two, it doesn't beat us again against Texas Tech because Jordan, you were right, especially in the first half. that was the game that I actually went over to Uncle Lou to hang out and watch the Georgia-Arkansas game, and he has a lot of TV, so I was able to watch the West Virginia-Texas Tech game. And it was in a separate room, and when I came out of the room at halftime, they're like, "What's wrong with you?" Because seriously, the color in my face had drained. I mean, I was white. So everybody saw how it affected me physically, and it was all because we let Oklahoma get away. That was our best chance. That was a closer chance than the 2018 game. Think about that. I mean, yes, that was a shootout. Yes, that was in Morgantown, but we were in position in Norman to beat Oklahoma. A game-winning field goal. We turned the ball over. Oklahoma, of course, they hit the game-winning field goal. And then the next game, Texas Tech hits a game-winning field goal. That was the story of the year last year, game-winning field goals against us. And then getting blown out by Baylor and Oklahoma State. So, yes, I agree that it was Oklahoma. It beat us at least another time, maybe another time. Who knows? Maybe we were close in another game and flashes, maybe the Kansas State game, and then flashes of the Oklahoma State game, the Oklahoma game, gets in their head and they beat us again. I don't know, but I do know that it cost us 2 games, and we're looking at that 8-4 prediction that I made last year if that does happen. So, I would say Oklahoma. All right, so let's transition into this year. And the reason I pointed that out is because West Virginia fans want to say, man, that was a waste of a year. Neil Brown has us going in the wrong direction. They don't realize how close it was to not being that way. Like the Texas Tech game, 4 of our 6 losses were 50-50 football games. And our defense, can't consistently hold somebody under 25 points. That offense, one more touchdown in this game, one more touchdown in that game, and it's a completely different season. So let's look at this season with the mindset that we're going to have a much better offense, at least an average offense. I mean, last year's one wasn't even an average offense. It was a terrible offense. So let's, with the mindset that we'll at least have an average offense this year, and the defense will be, steadfast like it always is. Maybe not elite like 2020, but steadfast. Let's run through these games. And so I'll get a pick from you guys. We'll go percentage as far as how confident you are in that pick. And then I'll follow you guys. How about that? And we'll go game by game. So the first game on the road to Pitt, backyard brawl, biggest rivalry. The story before we got JT Daniels was, Kedon Slovis transferred over to Pitt. And then West Virginia got Graham Harrell, who's the guy that knows the guy, former, offensive coordinator for Kedon Slovis. And we get JT Daniels. So I'll start with, I'm going to rotate. So on this one, I'm going to start with Jordan. What's your prediction and what's your confidence level?
Man, prior to JT Daniels, I was super nervous about this Pitt game because they got the Blitnikoff winner coming back on offense. They got 17 starters coming back or something like that. I think all their defensive backs are back, and all their D linemen, solid defense they had last year. But I think getting Graham Harrell and getting JT Daniels changed things for me, and I think West Virginia is going to come out with a win. But I think it's going to be a super close game. My confidence level would probably be like 55% West Virginia.
I like it. And what about you, Danny?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough because we talked about the young secondary. We'll see how they do against Jordan Addison, but we'll probably have Charles Woods on him, so that would probably be a key matchup in the game. And then this might be one of those games that we have to, like you said, with JT Daniels, we can probably do it, put up 40 points to win. So, but I'm not going to pick against West Virginia in the backyard brawl, so I got to go 60-40, 60% confident we're going to win.
I got you. And I also like West Virginia. And Danny pointed out our young secondary, but I did kind of a sneak peek into the Pitt spring game because Talk is Pitt, one of my subscribers who's a Pitt fan, was not happy with how their quarterbacks looked in the spring game. And I looked at their spring game. Guys, their quarterback situation is not looking good. Kedon Slovis threw an interception, and he looked scared back there. So my confidence level has gone through the roof. I don't know if it even matters that we're a little young at the safety position, especially with Marcus Floyd. You know, he's going to be interchangeable back there. I'm very confident. I'm going to take Pitt easily, and I'm going to go 80-20. I'm going to be at that game, so I'll make sure to sing Country Roads at Heinz Field for every West Virginia fan out there when West Virginia and it's going to be an upset because the spread came out and Pitt's the 7-point favorite. So I gotta, it's going to be an upset, but I'm not going to be surprised. All right. So we're all fairly well. I'm super confident. Maybe not everybody, but we do all have West Virginia winning the first game. The next game, Kansas at home. Does anybody have Kansas winning that? We'll start with Danny on this one.
No,
way.
we should slaughter them.
Okay, so they don't pull a miracle like they did against Texas last year.
No.
What about you, Jordan?
No.
I do think that they will be better
Well,
than
with-
some years, though. They will be better. Kansas might get 4 wins this year. Maybe.
And that would be an upgrade. That would be an upgrade.
They might get 4 wins this year. They might get 2 conference wins, but not against us. Not in Morgantown.
Yeah, not like 2013, right?
Yeah.
And that was actually on the road. That was on the road, so
Yeah.
that's not even part of this conversation. Of course, I'm going to take Kansas. I'm going to go 99.9999999% chance that West Virginia wins. Crazy things happen. You never know, but I'm giving it to West Virginia. Next game is basically a tune-up game. Towson, I believe all of us has West Virginia 100% on that one. And then going into Virginia Tech 3-0 against a rebuilding Virginia Tech team and a new coaching regime. We'll start with Danny on this one.
I'm going WVU. I think I'm way more confident in this one than the Pitt game. Like you said, Virginia Tech is rebuilding. It is in Blacksburg, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to win this game. I don't think Virginia Tech's going to be all that good this year. I know that they did actually. I think Grant Wells transferred there, and he might be the starting quarterback, and he's from Marshall.
Yeah.
So I don't know about him because he was a good freshman, but last season he didn't have that great of a year. So we'll see. I don't think we're going to lose to Grant Wells and Virginia Tech. They'll probably have a pretty decent defense, but I'm pretty confident that we'll win that one. I'd say I'm 80-20 that one.
All right.
Maybe
Jordan?
even 85.
Yeah, I'd go 80% too. I think West Virginia's going to win that one. Blacksburg's a tough place to play, but like I said, it's tougher place to play than Pitt. But I think Pitt has a better team, so I think West Virginia can beat Pitt, and they can definitely beat Virginia Tech. I'll go 80% confidence on that one.
All right, so don't misread this situation. I don't think West Virginia loses this game, but I'm a smidge less confident because of that atmosphere.
Yeah.
Pitt, they can't even fill up their own stadium. That might be more West Virginia fans.
Yeah, we might have more WVU fans there.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Probably.
All right, so rewind to last year, first game of the year. Virginia Tech beats a North Carolina team that they should not have beaten. All right, we'll be going into Virginia Tech 3-0, and we just beat them in Morgantown last year. If we can survive that first quarter, Enter Sandman, all the adrenaline, we'll be fine. We will be fine. But if we get behind early, it could get interesting. However, I don't think West Virginia is, that close to Virginia Tech in talent to where, Virginia Tech's going to pull off the upset. I think our talent level is much higher than Virginia Tech's. So I do think we survived that first quarter. But my confidence is just a little lower than Pitt. So I'm going to go 75-25, still decent, but about 5% less than Virginia Tech. So we're looking at 4-0 going into Texas. I'll let Jordan start this one.
I don't know. See, they got Texas overhyped again per usual, but I know they got a lot of culture issues going on over there at Texas. So I mean, I think Texas. Who knows what Texas record will be at this point, but I think the Mountaineers are going to beat Texas this year again. I think it's going to be 2 years in a row over Texas, and I'm going to go 65%.
Gotcha.
See, if we can beat Pitt, I think we will go 4-0 to start the year. Playing at Texas, they got a lot of hype behind them. I know they're going to have Quinn Ewers is probably going to start for them. And, he was very highly rated out of high school. So we'll see how he does. He's never taken a snap in college football yet. So it's hard to tell. They're going to have the 5-star talent, but will they be able to put it together this year? They almost haven't, like, the past few years. So the way it's looking right now, this could change depending on what happens at Texas, but I'm going to go with the Mountaineers, but it'll be a close one. I think it'll be close.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be close. I
don't
think
think-
Alabama beats the morale out of Texas. I think they give up on Coach Steve Sarkisian after the beatdown by Alabama, and it might not even be a full Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium. Might be 70,000, which would still be more than what West Virginia holds, but it holds 100,000, so it's not even going to be full. Morale's going to be low. I think West Virginia rolls in, beats them by 2 touchdowns. And Texas is going to be thinking about firing old Steve by the end of the year. And their investment into the SEC and getting an SEC guy gets flushed down the drain. And my confidence level on that, as far as all that happening, not just West Virginia beating Texas, but Alabama beating the morale out of Texas, I'm going to go 85-15. That's how confident I am in that. Texas is going to be a train wreck this year. All right, so we go into the bye week, and then after a bye week, fresh off the bye week, we get Baylor at home. Baylor at home, revenge game. How are we feeling about that? Start with Danny on that one.
This one in Morgantown, it will be close because Baylor's got a very good defense. I'm pretty sure they're returning a lot of people on defense. I'm not too confident in their quarterback play. I think JT Daniels is way better than Gary Bohannon, but I think the atmosphere of Morgantown, especially if we're coming into this 5-0, is going to be crazy. So it's going to be a big game because if we're 5-0, Baylor's probably going to be ranked. So we'll probably be ranked if we're 5-0 and we beat Pitt and Texas. It'll be a big game. So I'm going to have to say we win this game. If we're 5-0, given these circumstances, I'd say we'll win this game.
All right. And what's your confidence on that?
Not as high, but I'll go 65-70%.
It's not bad. All right, Jordan.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a good game, but I think being in Morgantown, I think is what gives West Virginia a good advantage in it. I think Baylor lost their running back Abram Smith. They graduated a couple players on defense. Like you said, Bohannon. I think JT Daniels is better than him. If Bohannon ends up starting, I know that they got Shapen too. I think they got a little key in the two, so we'll see how that turns out. But I think Baylor has a good coach in Aranda, but I think they've lost a little bit. And I think playing in Morgantown, I think West Virginia's going to get them. So I'll go 60% West Virginia.
No, I'm going to go even higher because me and Kuz actually broke down who has the better group in specific groups. And Baylor only has 2 better groups than West Virginia, and that's the safety and linebacker, but only because of depth at linebacker. West Virginia, their talent at the offensive line about the same as Baylor. Defensive line about the same. We have a better quarterback. We have a better running game. We have a better wide receiving, in my opinion. And I think our cornerbacks are a little bit better. So I'm a little bit more confident about that. I think our groups overall are better than Baylor's this year. I will say where Baylor is strong, they're really, really strong. But I just think we outman them and we out-atmosphere them. It is in Morgantown. And this one could get out of hand early. It could really get away from Baylor. So I'm going to go West Virginia maybe by, 10 points, a couple scores. And I'm about 80-20 on that one as well.
Yeah, I think especially with them losing Abram Smith, I think it's one of those games, if we can put up 40 points, I don't think Baylor's going to be able to put up 40.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great point right there. And it's in Morgantown. So I do think we're capable of putting 40 up on them on that game. Tricky game next. Possible trap game? I don't know. At Texas Tech. This is definitely a revenge game for West Virginia. If this was in Morgantown this year, this would be one of those 99.99999 blowout. But it is on the road. Is there any chance that Texas Tech pulls off the upset? I'm going to start with Jordan.
I mean, listen, there's always a chance Texas Tech pulls the upset, especially playing in Lubbock. I mean, look back, 2012, West Virginia was rolling, 4-0, 5-0, and I never thought they would lose to Texas Tech
Oh
then
man.
with Tavon Austin, Geno Smith, and those guys, and then they
Yep.
did. So I'm not going to say there's no chance Texas Tech does it, but I think that this Texas Tech team doesn't have as much talent as West Virginia does, and I think Neil Brown is going to be very hungry to finally beat Texas Tech because he knows he should have, already. And so,
Yep.
and that's the one team that he should have beat that he hasn't. So I think he's finally going to do it. I think West Virginia, and I'll go 80% confidence on this one. I think we're going to beat Texas Tech this year.
Fair enough. Danny?
I do think that this one could be a trap game, but I think that Texas Tech is probably going to be one of the worst teams in the Big 12 this year.
Yep.
So I don't know. I was actually a little bit back and forth on this one because, but I don't want to seem like too much of a West Virginia homer because I am, and I have them winning all these games. But
So do we.
but I think Texas Tech. I don't think that they're going to be able to do it. Not this year. They don't have the team for it. I'm going West Virginia, and I'm pretty confident in this one. I do think it could be a trap game though, but I'm about like 90% confident in this one.
Yeah, I guess it has the possibility of having a trap game, but that's like saying this is how bad Texas Tech's going to be next year. It's like saying a trap game at Kansas with maybe a little bit more atmosphere. Texas Tech is not going to be very good. Total rebuild. I think it was a mistake firing Matt Wells, and a lot of Texas Tech fans are saying, "Well, he just couldn't recruit." Well, they were in the middle of a nice turnaround season. They still made a bowl, and they fired him. After a 5-2 mark. And then they end up only winning one more game after they fired him. So I think that was a mistake. I think their mistake follows them this year, and I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to go 95 on this one. So West Virginia's still rolling. The back half of this schedule is a little tricky though. TCU at home. We'll start with Danny.
TCU at home, another team that's probably going to be somewhat of a rebuild. They fired Gary Patterson last year, but they are bringing back their quarterback, Max Duggan. I think he's pretty good, actually. So that one could be a trap game as well, but I don't think that they'll have the defense for it. This isn't the 2010 TCU defense or anything like that. Their defense isn't that good at all. So in Morgantown, I'm pretty confident in this one. As an individual game, not like given if we were undefeated or anything, but like because I think that if we are undefeated, these have more potential to be trap games. But if we're just talking like individual games, then I'm pretty confident in this one, especially in Morgantown, probably like 95%.
Nice. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I agree. I think that TCU, they always have a good team usually, but bringing in a new coaching staff, that's going to be, always bumps in the first year. And I think this game being in Morgantown is to West Virginia's advantage. And, West Virginia having a coach in his fourth year versus TCU, which will be breaking in new parts and new pieces with that new staff. So I think West Virginia wins it as well. I'll go 75% confidence on this one.
Yeah, I agree with everything y'all said. I think this is one of those games that will get out of hand. I know Patterson had not a very good season last year, but he is a great coach, and we're going to see how big of a difference that makes. Coaching is everything. TCU doesn't have a veteran coach. I don't know how long it's going to take this new coach to get things together, but it's not going to be in Morgantown. He's not going to get it together there. I'm taking West Virginia in the blowout, and it's going to be one of those 99.99999 games for me. Here we go, guys. Ames, Iowa. Iowa State on the road. We will start with Jordan.
Listen, that's tough. Ames is one of the toughest places to play. We've seen West Virginia struggle there in the past. The one good thing West Virginia's got going for them is Iowa State, losing Breece Hall and Brock Purdy moving on, Hunter Decker. But so, it's going to be a different Iowa State offense, but we'll see how they perform. But, Iowa State's defense is going to be solid. I think this is probably the first time West Virginia trips up here on the road at Iowa State, but I'll go 55% chance that Iowa State wins.
All right. Danny?
I'm actually pretty confident that we'll win in Ames this year because are they bringing back their quarterback this year? I know they're losing Breece Hall. Is their guy coming back? Purdy?
I think he's gone too.
He's gone too.
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
pretty
gone.
confident that we can win this game. They're going to have a pretty good defense, but they're one of those teams, they get their guys old, they stay old, and then they're good for a year or two maybe, and then I think they'll be young again, and they'll kind of go back down. So I'm pretty confident that we would win this game. Um, I'm not saying that we're gonna go undefeated, but as these games, like as individual games, like
Yep.
I'm pretty confident that we'll win this one, like no matter what our record is. Um, so I would say 75%.
No, I'm going to go 50-50 in this football game, and I'm actually going to give it to Iowa State. Um, a recipe for getting upset on the road is the home team having a good defense. We did it to Virginia Tech last year, and I think Iowa State is capable of doing it to us this year. I think we'll be in the game, the entire game, but I think, they have that extra fourth and goal stand like Virginia Tech had against us, and West Virginia suffers their first loss. I'm still at 50-50, but home field advantage tilts it in favor of Iowa State. I think West Virginia grabs their first loss in Ames, Iowa. Then probably, arguably, the biggest game of the year, arguably, not definitely, but arguably, Oklahoma at home. We'll start with Danny on this one.
I'm not confident in this one. I can never be confident to beat Oklahoma. I mean, even though it's at home, I do think this is probably one of the best chances we've had to get them. But I'm not sure. Dylan Gabriel is a good quarterback. And, they're going to bring in they're going to have the 5-star talent that they always do. And then they brought in the defensive coordinator from Clemson to be their coach. We'll see if he can get their defense turned around too. But that might take a couple years for that. But not that confident in this one. But it is in Morgantown. I think it will be a close game. This is probably one of the better chances we've had at the start of the year to beat Oklahoma. But I'm going to go 40-60. I'm going to give it to Oklahoma.
All right. Jordan.
Yeah, I think that Oklahoma, it'd be better if we played them earlier in the season after breaking in, Brent Venables, and then they got the offensive coordinator from Ole Miss, Jeff Lebby, and he's really good. So I think their offense will be clicking by this time when we have to play, and that's the only downside. And like Danny said, Gabriel's a good quarterback. Oklahoma's always going to have good players. But I think West Virginia, especially if they're coming off a loss against Iowa State, I think they're going to be hungry to get back on the winning side of things. And I think, West Virginia is hungry in general. They know they finally want to beat Oklahoma. They know how close they were last year. The staff's going to, harp on that and let them know. I think West Virginia finally gets Oklahoma this year. I'm going to say 50-50 game, but I'm going to say West Virginia wins it in a close one, like West Virginia.
I like the stuff you mentioned. West Virginia will remember what happened last year, how close they were to beating Oklahoma at home. Of course, Oklahoma has a whole new coaching staff. They have a new quarterback. They have a new everything. I know that everything is at a high level. Like Dylan Gabriel is a good quarterback. Jeff Lebby is a good offensive coordinator. Brent Venables was a good defensive coordinator at Clemson, but they are all new, and none of them have been to Morgantown. I will be in Morgantown for this game, and I will be that voice that gets West Virginia over the hump. I'll be that one missing voice that's been missing in all the home games in Morgantown, that extra decimal that gets West Virginia over the hump. I think West Virginia pulls this off, and I'm actually fairly confident. I think West Virginia wins. I think our defense will be better than Oklahoma's. Oklahoma always fields a good offense, and Jeff Lebby is a good offensive coordinator, but we'll have, what we talked about, JT Daniels, deep running back core, wide receivers that can make plays. I think we just outplay them. I think we big play them, to be honest with you. I think we hang 40 on them, and they just can't keep up. And I'm confident this is off an Iowa State loss that I'm predicting. So they're going to be hungry. And I'm going to say a 10-point win by West Virginia, and I'm fairly confident. I'm going to say 70-30 West Virginia in this one.
I hope so.
All right. Kansas State at home. We'll start with Jordan on this one.
Who's Oklahoma State?
Oh, did I say decimal? I meant decibel. That's what I meant. Kansas State next at home.
Hold on a second. I can't hear you.
Kansas State. The home game against Kansas State.
Let me see.
Hold on.
Well,
I don't know if you can see.
Kansas State.
Kansas State. I'm going to try to point to it. Wait, where am I? Hold on, I can't even see. How about this?
Yeah, I can
Is that
see
right?
it.
Is
Kinda.
that right?
Yeah. I can
Can
go
you see
ahead
it?
and go while he's trying to
All right.
get it fixed.
I don't know sign language.
I'm pretty confident in Kansas State. I know that they're losing their guy Skylar Thompson, even though he was always injured anyway.
Yeah.
But I actually don't know too much about Kansas State's team this year, but at home, I got to think that we're gonna beat them. But Kansas State, they usually have a pretty good team. Oh wait, no, they picked up Adrian Martinez, didn't they?
Yes.
And then they have Deuce Vaughn. That
Mhm.
that might be good. We'll see if maybe they run some option stuff with them. They might be pretty good, but in Morgantown, I'm pretty confident, probably 75%.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think Kansas State will be really, really good. And if this were at Kansas State, I'd be a little bit nervous. But the way I'm predicting, they only have one loss. They just beat Oklahoma. They're going to be coming with intensity. And I
Yeah.
like West Virginia 80-20 in this one. Hold on one second. I think he's back. Technical difficulties happen. It's all right. We were talking about Kansas State. Danny gave his, and I just finished with mine. So, Jordan, Kansas State at home. Can you hear? I don't think you can hear us.
Yeah.
Somebody type Kansas State in the chat or a prediction for Kansas State. I think he's in one of those spots in West Virginia where the reception is really bad. They have them spots.
Yep.
We'll come back to Jordan and see if he can hear us in a minute. But all right, going into the Oklahoma State game, we have one loss. It's on the road. I'm not liking this, man. What do you think?
This is out of our whole schedule. This is the one I'm least confident in.
Yep.
On the road, and like you said, good defenses on the road. That's tough to play. I know
Yep.
that they did lose some of their secondary through the transfer portal, and that was really what they were really good at last year was getting interceptions, and their secondary was really good. But yeah, this is the one I'm least confident in. I'm definitely giving the win to Oklahoma State, but who knows if we can have a good year? Like if we only have one loss up to this point, maybe in a rematch in the Big 12 championship, we could maybe get them, but I don't think we beat them in Stillwater. So I'm probably like 30%, 70% in favor of Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think Oklahoma State's going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12, Big 12 contenders. I think West Virginia will be one of the best teams in the Big 12 contenders. The difference maker will be it's in Stillwater.
Yep.
We match up really good with Oklahoma State. I just don't like our chances on the road. I'm going to give this to Oklahoma State, and I'm going to say 65-35 in favor of Oklahoma State. Can you hear us, Jordan?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, my laptop wigged out there for a minute.
No problem. So we went ahead and predicted Kansas State, and we were just now rolling through Oklahoma State. So we'll get your prediction on Kansas State real quick and your confidence in that. It's a home game.
Okay. Kansas State, I think West Virginia should win that one. Yeah, it's in Morgantown, so I like their chances there. I think that West Virginia didn't like the way State game went last year, I'm sure. So I
Yep.
think that they're going to bounce back and get a win over Kansas State this year. I'll go 75 on that one for West Virginia.
Agreed. And then what we just got through talking about, Oklahoma State on the road. Me and Danny don't like it. How do you feel about it?
That's tough. I think Oklahoma State's going to be really good again this year. Spencer Sanders back, a lot of people back. I know that they lost their defensive coordinator and are replacing him, but I think they have the pieces still on defense, and I think that they won't have too big of a drop off there, despite losing the core. So I think Oklahoma State's going to be a Big 12 contender again, and I think West Virginia will have a tough time there. So 80% Oklahoma State. Honestly, I hate to say it, but yeah.
Well, we both pretty much agreed on that. So with our game by game predictions, we all have West Virginia with a 10-win season, possibly getting to the Big 12 championship, maybe a rematch with Oklahoma State and get the revenge, go to a New Year's Six. What's bottom of the barrel? What do you think would be not meeting expectations, but Neil Brown still keeps his job? I'll go with Jordan first.
I think, well, with getting Graham Harrell and getting JT Daniels, I think he bought himself a lot of goodwill. And I think that if West Virginia wins at least 6 or 7 games, that he's going to at least get one more year to do this because the goodwill he's bought himself. JT Daniels has 2 years. If West Virginia has a down year like that, he could possibly choose to come back. I think Graham Harrell, I don't expect him to leave after 1 year. I don't expect him to be around for
Yep.
a long time, but I think he'll be here at least a couple years. So I think that's good. And especially if things look better on offense this year, then that's the main key. I think more than any number of wins, as long as the offense looks improved, I think Neil Brown's bought himself some goodwill. But for me personally, I wouldn't want anything less than 7 wins. But I think with JT, maybe you can push that to 8. But if we go at least 7-5, I won't be too upset. But I
All
think we
right.
should at least probably get 8 now.
Yeah. What about you, Danny? What's the number where you're like, I'm not sure about this anymore?
Yeah, I agree with Jordan a lot. Um, the one thing I will say, like if we go 6-6, maybe 7-5, it might be a little disappointing. But if JT Daniels stays healthy, because if he's not healthy, then the win total is going to be lower for Neil Brown. Because even if we get 5 or 6 wins and JT Daniels was hurt, I
Yeah.
think we still get another year. But if JT Daniels is completely healthy all year long, and we go 6-6, 7-5, and we're playing in the Liberty Bowl again, I'm not really going to be too happy with that, honestly. Like I want at least 8 wins this year.
Yes, I agree with both of y'all. I think if we get to six wins, he keeps his job. I know the fans won't be happy. They'll be calling hot seat, get him out of here. But the offseason, he made some great decisions. And it depends on, if JT Daniels stays healthy. If he gets injured and we lose the games that he was injured, then it's going to be a lot of what ifs or, star players that get injured. So both of y'all are correct. The fact that we went out and got Graham Harrell and JT Daniels literally bought Neil Brown another year. Whether you like it or not, it bought him another year. As long as he gets to a bowl, he will have another year after that. Now, we're all hoping that no injuries happen and we hit that 9-10 win mark. I think we're capable. I think we made the right decisions. I think we'll be much, much better. And yes, we do have high expectations. So, does all that go out the window in the first game against, Pitt, the backyard brawl? I don't think so. But if we do lose that game, none of us are going to be happy if we lose to Pitt. So we'll see. That's a very, very important game, rivalry game. But we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to let Danny and Jordan go. Y'all tell. We'll start with Danny. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube right here. My name is on the screen, Dannyology. I do a lot of college football and college basketball stuff, rankings, predictions, spread picks, all that stuff. So we got some good stuff coming. So if you like college football, definitely go check out my channel. I'm a Mountaineer fan. So yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. What about you, Jordan? Where can they find you, bud?
Yeah, go subscribe to us on YouTube. It's a Country Roads Webcast. I know that the link's been posted and find it. And then, of course, you can subscribe to the podcast that we do all on Apple Podcasts, Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, any podcast platform you want. Just check us out. And then on Twitter, if you want to follow us, it's at WVU Country Roads. We live tweet, during the games. If we're not at the game or anything like that, we'll be live tweeting during the game. So that's fun to follow. And then announcements for our live streams and stuff on YouTube. It's pretty much WVU football, occasionally WVU basketball, mainly WVU football, and at least a couple of videos a week, some WVU football content. So check us out, Country Roads Webcast.
Well, I appreciate everybody that, came and watched the live show. We can't do it without you. I appreciate Danny and Jordan coming on a lot, guys. Thanks. This was a great live show. However, I'm going to say what I said at the beginning of the show. Y'all need to go check out Country Roads Webcast on YouTube and Dannyology. And it's fine and dandy to give them views and give them that like, but hit the subscribe button. It helps with morale. It gives you confidence. It makes you put out more content because you're more confident in yourself. I'm telling you guys, hit the subscribe button and help these guys out, and they would greatly appreciate it. It gives you that extra kick to keep going. And I know these guys are going to do some great things in the YouTube community. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all go, but I appreciate y'all dropping by, and we will definitely do this again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
No problem.
After having dude.
No problem. See y'all next time. I had fun. I hope y'all had fun. Y'all really need to go check out these YouTube channels. One of these small up and coming, but great content. And, as a YouTube creator, we probably shouldn't do it, but we get into the habit of looking at our subscriber count. And when we see it go up, it gives us confidence, and it just puts us in a better mood, and we put out better content. That's how it works. I don't know if that's how it should work, but that's how it works. So go over there, support them, hit the subscribe button, and it will definitely help them out. But I appreciate everyone that stopped by here. Y'all make this show, and it was a great show. And our next live show will be Friday, probably 7 p.m. I know the time changed today, and we bumped it down to 6. It was because my daughter actually has a birthday party. So if something like that comes up, we will probably have to move the time. But right now, it's 7 p.m. Y'all have a good rest of your Wednesday and a good Thursday. And we'll see you back here on Friday.